It's been a minute, my brother.
Word. Yo, it's your
Good to
boy
see you.
Rush. I'm in the building with my man True. Um, True, man, introduce yourself to the people out here, man. Let them know what you about, your MO
Yeah,
and all that, you heard?
yeah, no doubt. Yo, peace, family. My name is True Kepra, on Instagram, known as True Speaks Power. I'm a neurolinguistic programming coach, personal development speaker, author, podcaster, and a community activist, man. I'm all about uplifting the community to keep it short, basic, and simple. Let's get into it.
Word. Yo, it's been a while, man. You probably like one of the first people I met when I moved to New Jersey, man, from Boston. So,
Word.
my first question is like, yo, because for those who don't know, my man's out here, man. He's a uh certified X-ray technician. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? My boy is a brilliant mastermind at everything he does, man. I want to know,
thank you.
like, yo, what was the process for you to achieve your degree and getting your your work hours to become a certified X-ray technician? Talk to me.
Yeah, so my story is different than the average person, right? So you want me to give you the streamlined short version, or you want me to give you the my story and how I became an X-ray tech?
No. Yo, long story, man. We got time, bro.
We got time, okay?
We
I just
got
want to make
time. Yeah.
sure I value your time and your audience time, of course. So this is the thing, my brother. I got into the streets really young. You know what I'm saying? I got into stealing cars, selling drugs. And in 1999, something special happened. And that was the birth of my daughter. Her name is Lanesia. She's 25 years old now. And a spark came into me, right? Um, Integrated with the fact that I also was dibbling, dabbling into knowledge itself and really taking that serious and understanding what it means to be a man in relative to my African heritage, relative to what has happened to our people in America and abroad. All of that was happening around the same time, and I'm in the streets real heavy selling drugs. And then fast forward, I caught a huge charge. I caught a drug charge. I was facing 10 years. Fortunately, I had the bail money because I learned from those before me, what to do and what not to do. Because one thing about me is I was always a thinker, always observing and always studying. I'm the same way now, but just it's now channeled into a positive thing, so to speak. And so I caught a big charge, bailed myself out, and what they do where I'm from Patterson, I'm from 10th Avenue, 23rd. You know, when you get you come home from doing some time, right? You sort of celebrate. Sounds super ignorant, but listen, this is where I'm from. And so I got super drunk that night, came home, got bailed out. I ain't do no time, got bailed out. And I woke up the next day with a massive hangover, right? All of these details matter, by the way. I had a massive hangover, and my daughter, Lanesia, who's 25 years old right now, was laying next to me. And I got up. I did like one of these, like, wow. I looked at her and I noticed the fact that she's getting older, how big she's gotten. Now I'm in her life. I just wasn't really present because I was in the streets. And then when I was home, I was drunk or high, right? But it was something about that special moment, catching that charge, getting bailed out, being in a state of hangover where I'm sort of like in this weird space mentally where I was just supremely present. And when I noticed her, I had a vision. I'm looking this way because I'm literally in that place right now. I had three visions, bro. This ain't no BS, no hype, bro. Like you talking the truth. You know what I mean? You know me. So this is real. And in that vision, I saw my daughter visiting me in a cemetery. I saw my daughter visiting me in the penitentiary. And I said to myself in that moment, I got to do something about this. I really need to transform my life because at the time, I didn't really love myself. I thought I did. Like if you were to ask me back then, You know what I mean? I might have been like 23, 24 years old. Do you love yourself? I was like, yeah, of course I love myself. What kind of question is that? But in hindsight, a little older, a little bit more developmentally, I realized based on my behavior, I wasn't aware of the fact that I wasn't really loving myself. However, my love for my daughter was strong enough to get me into shape, to spark within me that I need to transform my life. I need to do something because I'm either going to end up dead or in jail. And that's just the fact. And I know that sounds super cliche. Everybody says it. And the reason why everybody says it, because it's real. You're either going to end up dead or in jail and so forth. And I was considered a delinquent juvenile at the age of 15. So I was on the path. You get what I'm saying? So to your question, I said, okay, well, the only thing I could think about doing is joining the military or going back to school. And so I was against I would say like mentally and spiritually, I was against the American politics at the time and understanding what it does to a black man and understanding that the policies are not in favor for us, or not in our favor, I should say. However, I was so desperate that I said, man, let me try to join the military. But I'm a convicted felon with multiple charges and a delinquent juvenile, multiple charges. So they was like, nah, bro, you know what I'm saying? You can't join us. You can't join our ranks. So I was like, all right. Well, I barely made it out of high school. I went to Eastside High in Patterson. If you ever saw the movie Lean On Me, that's the high school I went to. Barely made it out. I graduated late. I didn't even get to walk and do the whole ceremony, cap and gown. They sent my diploma to my house. And so I was like, all right, let me go back to school. But for what? I don't know. I mean, I like psychology, I like sociology, but the adults around that time were telling me that there weren't really many jobs in those fields. So I was like, damn, what should I do? And so people were saying, yo, get a job in the medical field. You know what I'm saying? There's always jobs in that field. So I said, all right. The only thing I knew was to become a nurse because of becoming a doctor, unfortunately, right? That wasn't in my environment. So it was something that I didn't even consider it's something that I could become because exposure, I'm digressing, but this is all connected. Exposure, especially in our community, is so important because the standards need to be elevated. And not only do the standard need to be elevated, but the awareness. When you're aware of something being a possibility, then you're more likely to pursue that. And at one time, there were professionals like doctors and dentists, but because of the crack era in the 80s, they had to flee because they were getting robbed and a whole bunch of stuff. So my elders taught me from Patterson. So back to your question now. How did I become an x-ray tech? So I was like, all right, let me try to be a nurse. Because becoming a doctor, that's not even in my mental sphere. And so I went to the nursing department. I said, hey, I want to change my life. I want to go to school. I want to become a nurse. I was like, all right, cool. No problem. Let's get it. The questionnaire now, I'm doing this because I remember typing. The questionnaire, have you been convicted of a felony? So forth, so forth. And of course, yes, I had a drug charge. And they was like, oh, you can't be a nurse, bro. You're going to be dealing with drugs. You got a drug charge fresh. And so they said, try next door. So next door was x-ray, which is considered radiography. And I'm talking about, just so that if anybody's wondering, what college? Passaic County Community College. There's two ways to become an x-ray tech. There's through college and there's through certification. I recommend college, and it's also the path that I took because you get a degree and you're not locked into it. And so I tried next door, and there was a black professor. It's important. Just so that you know, for those who don't know me, I'm very intentional with the things that I say. And so that's important, the fact that there was a black professor. And the reason why, because number one, that person looked like me, they relate to me, and that black professor was from the city. She's from Patterson. So she gets it. She understands. She's seen the thousands of me. I look like her nephew. And so she told me, she said, listen, son, I can't guarantee you could get your license because of your criminal record. However, if you do your part, you do your best, I'll fight for you. How's that? And that's important because what that woman, her name is Parsha Hobson, Professor Parsha Hobson, she's still down there to this day. You can go check her if you want, give her a call. Tell her favorite student, True, sent you. She gave me hope. She inspired me. And so that's all I really needed to get started. And I started at the bottom because in order for you to qualify for the X-ray program, you got to take a basic skills test. And of course, I did poorly because I just told you I graduated late from high school. You know what I'm saying? I was in the slow classes in high school. Like, I was nowhere near high school level and definitely nowhere near college level. So I had to, before I got into my prerequisites, I had to take the basic skill courses basically to get up to college level. And then I took my prerequisites and then got into the program, qualified for the program. And here I am. And just so that people know, especially my young people, I was in slow classes in high school, barely made it out of high school, was an average C and D student pretty much my whole academic life until I got to college. Then I took it serious. And once I got serious, I ended up graduating top 10 of my class, honors, Phi Beta Kappa, and I was nominated Who's Who not once but twice. And I don't say that to flex, right? I'm saying that for the people who maybe struggle like me. Maybe you think you're dumb. Maybe you think you won't be able to get it. I was in the slow classes in Eastside High School, performing poorly, catching charges. You know what I'm saying? And I ended up graduating top of my class in college. So what it was is I wasn't slow. I wasn't dumb. I just wasn't taking it serious. And eventually when I applied myself, number one, and number two, when I had a purpose, remember my daughter? That was the fuel. So she was my why. I wanted to transform my life for her because I wanted to be a better example for her. I wanted to provide a better future for her. And now here I go, almost 20 years in the field, doing my thing.
Word, word. That's a powerful testimony, man.
Thank you.
My next question for you is: what advice would you give to the youth, well, young men, on how it's important to have a strong level of confidence? Because where we come from, man. When niggas is doing the bed, they're coming in and out from home and all that. Yeah, I mean, there's studies that show and case studies that show that it's a lack of self confidence on why. Yeah, I mean, people from an urban environment catch crazy charges like that. So, what advice would you give to a young man on how to receive confidence and preserve it at the same time? Talk to me.
Well, before I answer that, I have to ask specifically what age demographic are you talking about because it's different depending on the age group.
Yo, from 15 all the way up to adulthood, man. Like 15 to
Got it.
20. I mean,
Got it. Got it. So this is the thing. It's a tricky question because I grew up around gangsters. I consider myself more of a hustler than a gangster. However, I can get gangster when it calls for it. You can't survive where I come from without having some type of level of being gangster, right? And what I mean by being gangsters, for those who don't come from that world, you handle your business in the streets, and if you get tested, you handle your business. However, I've met a lot of people who had confidence, who were willing to fight anyone, right? So I don't think it's a level of lacking. I don't think it's about lacking confidence in that world, in that age. I don't think that's what's missing. I think what's missing is how to channel that energy in a productive, positive way and be confident about the right things. And understanding though, it's a survival, it's a survival skill where we come from, right? So they need that in that way where we come from. However, what's missing to then adapt into the civilian world or to become like a regular person, so to speak, right? I think what's missing is hope, it's inspiration, it's skills, and also exposure, because that's the confidence that's missing. I actually wrote about it in my book, and selfish plug, as they say. I use that same example. I know dudes that were willing to fight anybody, willing to even kill. However, when it came to like going to school or maybe applying for a certain job, they got nervous. They weren't sure of themselves. And it's because it's just a whole new foreign world to them. So I think for that demographic, we need to expose them to possibilities, not to sound redundant what I said earlier, but to possibilities of what's possible if they apply themselves or use that same confidence that they use in the streets to use that and channel it in a different way. So I don't think, again, specifically how you asked the question and the demographics and where, I don't think that's the issue. Now, if someone is lacking confidence, you know what I'm saying? For I would suggest to find something that interests them and become competent in that. And the only way to really develop confidence is to then face your fears and take action. I'll tell you a little story about me. When I was young, this is some street stuff, so it may sound crazy. But when I was young, living on Mill Street, I was scared to fight. You know what I'm saying? I grew up on a block that was what predominantly Puerto Ricans, and they would jump me. They would do a whole bunch of stuff. And my one day, my mother finally got
Hey, yo,
tired of me.
hold on. Before you get into that, my bad to interject
Yeah,
so abruptly, but my audience may not understand the cultural differences between Puerto Ricans and Dominicans. They don't get along, so just give them a breakdown and then transition finishing your story because they might
yeah,
not understand what you're talking about.
yeah, no doubt. No, it's all good. So first, let me say I'm Dominican, right? To give some context, I'm a first generation born here in Dominican. But before I always say that, especially with people that don't know me, I got knowledge of self. So I know and understand that first and foremost, I am an original man. I am a black man with African ancestry. I am an African
Yo,
that
hold
was
on.
dropped off in Dominican Republic.
Yo,
We got to stop there.
hold on. Before you, yo, I'm gonna get
Go
back to
ahead.
that because that was
Okay.
one of my questions, man. You kind of messed me up.
All right, it's all
But
good.
yo, go ahead,
Listen,
finish up. But I'm gonna come back to that.
I'm with you, bro. I'm on your time. I'm with you. So back then, at the time when I'm talking about it, at least, right? That's what I'm speaking about. There was a rift between Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, and it still exists. You know what I'm saying? And that rift is sort of like it's to me, it's dumb, and it's part of the whole divide and conquer thing. Because if we look into the history, we all experience the same thing, and we all have a common enemy. However, due to the teachings of tribalism, and I don't mean tribalism like the indigenous, I mean tribalism in this day and time of groups and divide and conquer. So you put this group against that group, and then it's easier to conquer them. And then so you have that concept, and then you have the fact that we're all poor. You know what I'm saying? And I know poor is relative, right? You take somebody in India poor compared to somebody in Patterson poor, the person that from Sri Lanka some damn where would be wealthy, right? Would consider being poor in Patterson wealth. However, for us, we were poor. So when you combine drugs, poverty, right, the lack of knowledge of self, tribalism, and all of these things, you have a recipe for conflict, basically, or some people would say recipe for a disaster. So I fell into that as a Dominican, and so back to that story, my mother got tired of me coming home, you know what I mean, crying and not willing to stand up for myself. And she understood that as a single black woman, Dominican woman, that she was raising a boy. So man, yo, he's gonna get eaten up alive in this community if I don't toughen him up. So my mother was like, you know what? We're going down there and you're fighting them right now. And I'm like, yo, mom, you wilding. Like, you know what I'm saying? And she took me down there, held me by the hand. And this may look crazy, especially in 2020, 40, where these boys are so damn soft, yo. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? She took me down there. She forced me to fight them. And I actually lost that fight. I tell everybody, I lost that fight. However, a beautiful thing happened. I got punched in the face so hard. And why that's important? Because it taught me, oh, it ain't that bad. I survived. I can survive a hit. So to your question about confidence, it's important to face your fears and take actions and get punched in the face and fail and learn new skills and become competent and absorb whatever happens with that, because that's where confidence comes from. It comes from dealing with your failures, dealing with setbacks, and still bouncing back. And that's what confidence is. Some people, yes, some people are just born. It seems like they're born with just this energy of just like knowing their path, knowing what they want to do, and not being afraid to face whatever it is that's in front of them. However, if you are afraid, that's okay. That's okay. Because that's not the end of your stage in life. All you have to do, my friend, and whoever's listening, is face your fears. Be smart about it though. Study, become competent, and then take action. Like I'm a personal development speaker, and a lot of times people say that I make it look easy. But what I tell them is, you don't understand the training that I've taken, number one, and two, the experience and experimenting that I've done, and how like I've read over 400 books, and when I find a word I don't understand, I look it up. I look it up because number one, I want to understand what's in the book, and two, to enhance my vocabulary. I didn't always speak like this. At one time, every other word was the N word. At one time, every other word was a curse word. I don't say the N word. That's why I'm saying N word. Every other word was a curse word. I'm from the hood. I sold crack. You know what I'm saying? I didn't always speak like this. I developed myself. So that's another thing. If you're lacking confidence, you got to develop yourself. You don't know how to fight? Learn. And then you got to be willing to step in the ring and get punched in the face. And that's just my analogy for life.
Word. Another powerful testimony, man. The reason why I brought that question up is because as a man, no matter what race you from, you got to deal with the harsh realities of life. And nobody's going to tell you doing a good thing. You have to know that you on point yourself. That's why I asked that question, David. Now, with the knowledge of self, know thyself, I see that on your page, man. And tell me why you're so big on knowledge, knowing that quote, knowing thyself, and how that helped you out to make that transition of being from, a dude that's, into that, that street culture, transitioning into, the corporate / America / medical field type joint. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like explain to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's an important phase in my life, man. And I'm grateful for all the elders who took the time to teach me. The reason why knowledge itself is so important, especially for us, number one, and this kind of ties into your previous question about confidence, especially for us black people, right? When you have so there's different aspects to knowledge itself. Let's break down the historical aspect of it, which is one that most people relate to as far as knowledge itself. When you have knowledge of your lineage and what you have accomplished in this world, see, if you leave it to the public school system, if you leave it to our enemies that are most of the ones that are the majority of the ones that's teaching us, they'll make you think that you were just a slave and that you never contributed nothing in history, in life, in century. So that's crucial, because if you're a child growing up and you think you were just a slave, and then you look in your environment and you see nothing but negative examples or toxic examples of your people getting locked up on drugs, poverty, servants, not having the best jobs and all of this stuff, you think like, damn, you may not know it, but subconsciously you think like, yo, like you from a cursed race. And it's interesting, some people actually teach that. But anyway, that's a whole nother topic. Knowledge itself is important because it gives you a sense of pride and confidence in who you are. Like, yo, my people built things. My people are the mothers and fathers of civilizations. You talking about being a doctor? You got people like Imhotep from Kemet, who was not only a doctor, he was a healer, a philosopher, he was an architect. He's a whole bunch of things. So when you start to learn about the things that your people have accomplished, it gives you hope, and also not inspiration. There's another word that I'm looking for, but for the sake of not being able to find another word, it inspires you. Like, yo, maybe I could do these things too because I come from that. And listen, I'm not blind to the fact. I'm not saying that there was an African utopia and everybody on the continent was kings and queens. I'm not saying we are a perfect people. I'm not saying that either. But what I am saying that it's a tragedy that they don't teach us that we were kings and queens. We were doctors, we were architects, we were scientists. We weren't just slaves to provide hope. You know, it's just like so many people want to be rappers. You know why so many people want to be rappers and want to be and want to go into the NBA from where we're from? Because they see it, because they hear it. So it gives them like, maybe I can do that too. But if we give them other examples, present and historically, then it gives us hope. And to back to your previous question, it gives us confidence. Maybe I could do that. And that's one of the things that knowledge itself did for me. Prior to having knowledge itself, I was like, oh, I mean, let me say that when I discovered knowledge itself, I was like, wait a minute. So I could be more than just a street dude? Like, wait, I can be more than what I am. My mother worked at a factory. So I just didn't see much. And I'm so grateful. And I'm not knocking anybody who works at a factory or none of that. Listen, anything you're doing to provide for your family, I salute and respect that. I'm just saying that there's more to things, right? And I had a limited view. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm talking about. So knowledge itself, man, it expands you. It expands your view, your perspective, and what's possible. That's number one. It gives you pride. Like, oh, okay, I wasn't just a slave. I wasn't just a dumb slave. No, man. They brought scientists here. You got to like really think about that. They brought scientists here. It's not like the illegal immigration that's happening now where they're sending their worst. No, they took the best and brought them here. You got to get that. And so that's number one. And for me, it just sparked like, oh, snap, I could be better. I could be intelligent, and it gave me a sort of a model to follow. And that's what a lot of these youth from that demographic you mentioned are lacking. They're lacking a successful model that's realistic, right? So if you tell them, yo, you're a king, that sounds cool, but how are they going to model that? You know what I'm saying? So, but knowledge itself is a spark for a model to follow, to have pride in, to understand that this is flowing in my blood. This is part of my DNA, and there's a possibility that I could make it manifest in my life. That's one aspect of knowledge itself. The second aspect of knowledge itself, which I think is probably more important, but they're all important, it's knowledge of you. What is your purpose in life? What do you like to do? That's positive. I got to say that. What is your natural skill set? How do you learn best? Are you audible? Are you visual? Are you kinesthetic, meaning working with your hands, right? What's your trauma triggers? I know my trauma triggers. You know what I mean? Because I take the time to do self-analysis when they happen. Sometimes in the moment I can't stop them. Sometimes I could be aware when they're happening and do something about them. Sometimes I can't help it, but afterwards. So there's also that. There's knowledge of you. And then there's also knowledge of, your intimate family and what are you predisposed of psychologically or physiologically, right? So, like for example, high blood pressure run all through my family, so I know I got to be on point. I got a perfect blood pressure last time I took a physical. So some things they tell you is in your genetics. Yes, that means you're predisposed, but it doesn't mean that you are susceptible to like you're just susceptible to it. No, you can change the pattern and behavior and see if you can tweak things. So that's why I think knowledge itself is so important. I wanted to give those two different examples. I hope I answered your question.
Oh yeah, most definitely you answered it, man. And I like the answer,
Thank you.
Um my next question for you is, man, what inspired you to write your book, and what's the premise on your book? Like, give us the breakdown on that.
Yeah. So what inspired me to write a book again, right? I got to give you this story because I think it's a part of it. When I was young, I got into trouble really quick, and so I got sent to California. My mother did that with hope that it'll save my life, and unfortunately, I got in trouble in California and then got sent back. But one of the things that happened in California is I was punished. I got punished, and I was forced to go into my room, and I couldn't get out of my room. Right? It was crazy. I always tell people I laugh. Like I was like, yo, this is white people stuff, man. Like because I'm from the hood, so we don't get sent to our room. You just get a beating and that's it. But I was sent to my room, and I couldn't get out of my room for I think it was a week. I don't remember. But Lupe, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Lupe. She I couldn't do anything. And back, remember, this is back in the days. I'm 44 years old, so there's no phones. There wasn't a TV in there. I don't even think I had a radio in there, bro. And so, but there were books. And so I got into reading. And so that's interesting, right? A punishment became a blessing because I got into reading these books. And I was like, wow, I was fascinated by the art of writing. And I said to myself as a child, I had to be, I want to say seventh grade. And I said to myself, one day I'm gonna write a book. That's it. That's important to say because I believe in the power of manifesting with your words. So, fast forward, I when it comes to personal development, a lot of the knowledge that I received were through books, reading books. And one of the things that inspired me to write a book is I wanted to contribute back. See, as a man, I think it's important as a man that you're not a freeloader in the universe. I think as a man, you have to be a contributor in your house, friendship, company, your job. You got to be a supreme contributor. Like people know when True is in the space because I'm not a freeloader. I don't just take up space. I'm a contributor to the space. So you know when I'm there, and you also know when I'm gone. And so, because books had such a profound impact in my life, I even go as far as to say they saved my life. You heard? I wanted to contribute back to that energy. You know what I'm saying? To that vibration. And also, people I noticed that people would ask me questions about my journey. People would ask me questions about the way I think. And so this isn't an autobiography, it's not a biography, but there are some personal stories in there. This is more so like a self-help personal development book filled with some insights that I've learned on my journey. It's my first book, so obviously it's not everything in there, right? But it's based on my philosophy of thinking, NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, and also just some insights that I've learned. And I wrote it in a very basic language, but I always tell people don't sleep just because it's written in basic language. I was taught a very long time ago that an intelligent man could take something complicated and break it down so that a baby can understand. So I took that premise while writing the book. Number two, you got to understand, I'm from the hood, right? So I'm not trying to, I could have made this a complicated book and used a whole bunch of technical jargon and try to use scholarly words and all of that you'll need a dictionary to read, but that's not the purpose of this book. The purpose of this book is to impact people in a positive way. And I wanted to make it easy for them so that they don't need a dictionary, so that they can understand what they're reading. And also, the reason why I brought up being from the hood, you got to understand, I'm from a place where people don't even like to read. I'm from a place where people don't read books like that, man. And so I wanted to make it easier for them in a way that's entertaining for them. And then the last thing that I want to say about the book, I believe that a book just shows and proves, once something is in a written word, right, it just shows and proves who you are. Like you can't take it back. You know what I'm saying? Like it's written. That's it. It's like our ancestors who did what people say is hieroglyphic. We call it Medu Neter. Medu Neter is the original word of hieroglyphics. But anyway, so it's also part of like the written word,
Hold on. I thought
And
Meta Nature was based on showing praise to your ancestors.
not that I'm familiar. If you look at
It's like
Medu
it's a
Neter,
form
right?
of, it's like a form of a religion where they worship their ancestors. That's what Meta Nature is, right?
Yeah, it's like a book. It's like a written book, and
Okay.
that might
Yeah.
be one. That might be part of the aspect of it. That might be part of it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll say too, there was a book that I read a long time ago, late '90s. It's called From Ends to Gods. I don't say the N word, but I'm gonna say it because it's part of the title. From Niggas to Gods by Akil, Akil. And that book had a profound effect on me. And it was written so basic. It cursed and everything. I don't curse on this because I strive not to curse when I speak. But that's I never forgot that about that book. Like it was written in such plain English, but it was profound at the same time. So I wanted to challenge myself too. So yeah, it's called The Power of Choice. You can find it on Amazon. Hit me up directly. You know what I'm saying? As well, Truth Speaks Power. DM me, and I'll send you a copy as well. And yeah, it's just but
I
I
need
got
my
three books in my
copy.
head.
I
I
need my
bet.
copy.
Yeah, I can't see you no more, King. It's like a screen. I can't see you no more. Uh-oh, did I lose you?
My bad. I'm still here, man.
Okay, yeah. For some reason, I can't see you anymore.
Yeah, a little technical difficulty. Hold on.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, fam. That's pretty much what it is, man. It's just an extension of what I call the work. What I believe is my life's mission and purpose in life. Oh, you still there? Did I lose you?
My bad. I'm still here.
Okay, I can see you. Okay, I can't see you, but I can hear you. There you go. We back.
Yo, my bad, man.
All good, fam. All good, man. We flowing, man. We
Yeah,
flowing,
yo,
bro.
yo, finish what you were saying, man. My bad, man.
Yeah. No, I was just saying that, to wrap it up about the book, that it's just an extension. I have a mission and purpose in life, and the book is just an extension. It's like a branch to part of that mission and purpose. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Which is to empower. If you ask, what's my mission and purpose in life? It's to empower people to be better version of themselves, and it starts with me being a better version of myself.
Word. I think that's amazing, man. I definitely want my copy. I will
Thank you.
be shooting you a DM to get my copy, man. And I'm gonna do a
Damn.
book review on that joint too, man. I
Ooh, I would
mean,
love that. I would love that.
word,
No,
word.
don't hold back too. I want to hear it.
I'm quite sure it's impeccable, man. It's flawless, man.
Thank you, King. Oh,
Word is
thank you. I did
born,
my
man. I think
best.
you're a stand-up guy, credible dude. And
Thank you.
one thing I love about you, brother, man, you always give back to your community, man. And this gonna transition to my next question. Like,
Yeah.
what what gives you the drive to always to give back to the youth from where you from? Because I noticed that you go to local high schools and you speak to the kids out there. So just
Yeah.
give me a brief description on that.
Yo, you got great questions, man. I just want to say that. I love that. Yeah, King, first and foremost, I believe as a man, right? It is our role and responsibility to protect and provide and uplift the community. So from the rip, as a man, I'm supposed to be doing this. So where did I get that from? All right, let's keep it simple. When you study the indigenous tribes, right, the original man and woman, how did they operate? When you see them in the tribal setting, right, I just strip away all of that stuff. Men were working with the youth, right? That's just women were working with, you know what I'm saying? And the elders were teaching the men. So as men, we're supposed to be taking younger people under our wings and building with them, showing them the way of the world, right? So this is just a modern way of doing that. Now, personally, it's because people invested in me. You know what I mean? And again, I'm not a freeloader in the universe. I give forward or give back, as people say, to the universe. I'm doing my role. It's my responsibility to do that, understanding that people invested in me. And also, I feel blessed and grateful to be alive, bro. Like seriously. So I feel like I survived for a reason. You know what I mean? Like I had many near death experiences, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like I have friends that are no longer here. Some are either in prison doing mad time or some died. Some killed themselves. Some got into drugs. And somehow I'm still here. I got a few scars, you know what I mean? When I say scars physically and as well as mental, spiritual scars, I got some trauma I'm dealing with, right? So I didn't go unscathed 100%, but bro, not for nothing. Like I did all right for myself, and I'm relatively a successful man. So it's my way of get just like yo. I feel like man, like to show gratitude and thanks. You know what I mean? I'm not a religious person or nothing like that. You know, you get what I'm saying? But just to show gratitude and thanks for allowing me to still be here, that I survived. I have to do this. And so I do my best. And, you know, I still work. I have a full time job and all of that. So willfully, one day I'll be able to do that full time and really live on purpose because I believe that's the reason why I'm still here.
Where I think you got the Midas touch, man. Anything you touch is gonna turn to gold, man. And this
Thank
is
you.
gonna be my next question for you. Like what led you to get into the podcast? Now, I'm looking at your channel. It's on a premature stage on
Yes.
subscribers, but it is growing, and you're doing it on a professional level, man. Yo, I'm giving you flowers right now, man. You are doing a
Thank you.
good job in this podcast lane. So, what gave you the inspiration to go in that lane too? Talk to me.
Yeah, Raw Success podcast, you know, it would I would really appreciate everybody give us a chance and just check it out. You know, I don't beg and tell people to subscribe, yo, go to my nah. Just give us a chance, you know, check it out. And if you like what you hear, subscribe, share. You know, we're bringing value. I know you don't know me personally, like the brother knows, but one thing about me, everything I do is on a professional level. He just said it, by the way. Everything I do is on a professional level. It doesn't mean it's the best. It doesn't mean it's perfect. But according to my resources, according to my level of understanding, I'm going to do my best. And you have my word on anything I do, right? So Raw Success came about is just another branch. I had another podcast before this prior to the pandemic that I'm so sad that I let go. But that's a learning experience within itself. That show was called Food for Thought, and it was on a whole different channel. Um, so this came to be because at one time I was out here getting money, just really working. I was out here working, getting money. You know, my family was going through some financial challenges at the time, and that's all I really was doing. And so I was making money. That wasn't a problem, but I felt down. I felt, you know, I fell into like this depressed state. And I know people use that word, throw that word, it just gets on my word. It gets annoying how people throw that word around. You know what I mean? A lot of people, they just soft, they need to do some push-ups. But I was really in a negative state, you know, and I had to really do some self-reflecting after some people in my life was pointing it out, like, bro, you ain't your positive, upbeat self. What's going on? And at the time, I was thinking like, yo, no, I'm good. I'm out here getting money. I'm all right. But people who love you really know. And so I'm blessed because I don't have no yes men around me. You know, I don't want no yes men around me. People call me out. And so I was called out and I had to do some self-reflecting. And I realized that I wasn't doing any purpose work at the time. All I was doing was working and providing great traits and qualities, and it's my responsibility as a man, no doubt. But that's not all a man is good for. A man also has to pursue his dreams. A man also has to find his purpose and also do something aligned with that purpose, whether it's small or big, but just do something that feeds you. And so I was like, man, I really miss podcasting. You feel me? And so that's when I thought about, yo, I'm relaunching. And make a long story short, my brother, that's how Raw Success came to be. You know, I had a partner at the time. At this moment, that partner is no longer with me, but I do have my producer who's still with me, and we're doing great work. We're providing great value in terms of our conversations and whatnot, and I'm loving it, man. And I believe it's like I'm destined to do this, and I don't want to sound crazy or nothing like that. I hope I don't sound arrogant. You got to realize, like, I'm talking about purpose work when I say destined to do this. Why? You might ask me, well, why? Why makes you say that? I'll tell you, because of the vibration that I'm in while I'm doing it. And I ain't doing this for no money. I would love to get paid just so I could do more work and impact more people. So, of course, I want to get paid doing it. But you got to realize I'm podcasting every day in my life. I'm having dope conversations. You know, it's called raw success, right? I read books. I'm constantly reading books, digesting personal development content and all of that. So this is what I do. But now it's formulated into a company, and now we're striving to bring more value and impact more people through our podcast. But it's just another branch of purpose work, man. I want to uplift the community and empower people to be the best version of themselves. So the podcast, what it does is reveal the truth about what it means to be successful. All these fake gurus out here, man, misleading people. So we're like, man, that's why I call it raw, because I'm interviewing people who really been through it and giving the real.
Where you got incredible guests on there, man. Like,
Thank you.
my favorite one is the dude from Haiti that's that's into the real estate game.
Irvin.
He was breaking down like why the real estate game is the best way to funnel your money in. He was saying like, yo, other businesses, you can't funnel as much as money you can funnel into the real estate game, which I thought was valuable information, man.
Facts. He killed it.
Salute to you, man. You got anything, you got the Midas touch, man. Anything you touch turns to gold, King, man.
Thank you, bro.
I just want to let you know that, man.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate that, because I'm gonna tell you, bro, and I say this openly. You know what I mean? Like, I battle with self-doubt sometimes. I struggle with, I'm looking at the numbers, and we're a relatively small channel, and we put a lot of work into it. You know what I mean? So when I hear someone like yourself say that, it doesn't stroke my ego. What it does, it fuels me to keep on keeping on. So when the work gets difficult, or when the time, because I'm a grown man, bro. I got a family. I'm taking time away from my family. I'm taking time away from other activities. I'm taking time of making money. You know what I mean? To do this, when I hear people say that, like my man called me last week, it was like, True, you one video away. I appreciate that, because, whenever that doubt kicks in, I remember this type of feedback, and it fuels me. So thank you so much for that, man. You don't even know how much that means to me. Seriously.
Yo, man, your channel, let me say this, and I'm the first to say it, man. Your channel has the ability to reach to like 200, 300,000 subscribers easy, man. You just got you got the formula down pack, and you got the charisma and the aesthetics, man, because you're a ladies' man too. Yeah. So I love tight. So you got it, man. You just got to be consistent, man. Don't stop uploading videos. Keep bringing them content, man, and you gonna get up there. I'm the first to say it, man.
Thank you, brother.
Remember that.
So much. Thank you so much, my brother.
Real talk, man.
Yeah,
Word. Now, my next question be for you is, what advice would you give to the youth on how to deal with adversity? Because you coming where we come from, man, we got to deal with a lot of adversity, man. So explain to the youth on how you deal with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh man. Not to get all complicated, but it depends on what type of adversity, right? But I think that there is a universal principle that can apply to all adversity. And that the number one thing is, don't be soft. You got to be tough. Number two is be responsible. And when I say be responsible, I don't mean like it's your fault, but you got to understand that this is your life. You are responsible for your life. And there's certain things that you can control and certain things you can't control. And so it would be in your best interest to put all your energy on the things that you can control. And that sounds easy. It's not as easy as it sounds, because even I battle with some things from the past, some decisions I made in the past that haunt me, and I'm still dealing with them, but the first thing is to recognize that you are responsible for your life, right? And if it's something that, if there's something that's happening, the first thing to do is to take the lesson from it. Whether it's your fault or not, whoever's to blame, what is the lesson? And also look at it as this is making me better. That whatever's happening, if it doesn't kill you, you know what I'm saying? To sound all cliche like they say, it's going to make you a better person. So welcome it with open arms. I did this video. I haven't even posted it yet, but I was at the beach. The beach is one of my favorite places. And I saw surfers, right? And surfers were they was just sitting on their board, right? Just like wait. And I was like, damn. So I asked the surfer, like, yo, what y'all doing when y'all be out there? You know, there was one on the sand. There's some out in the water, one on the sand. He was like, yo, we're waiting for the biggest wave, the most challenging wave. And so the reason why is because they're challenging themselves. It makes them a better surfer. So the bigger the wave, you know, the better surfer you become. Also, you're having fun. There's an African proverb that says, smooth seas do not make a good sailor. Let me repeat that. Smooth seas do not make a good sailor. So, for my young folks out there, first thing, just take responsibility for your life. I know it's tough. There's a whole bunch of things going on. Most of it's probably not even your fault, but guess what? You still got to deal with it. The second thing, specifically for young boys, don't get emotional. Don't get emotional about it. Stay level headed because you got to understand. I know people that are doing 40 years in prison because they got emotional. I'm talking about, I know somebody, and this is no disrespect to him, you know, because I love him and I'm not going to say his name. He's a good person. This kind of people not from the streets don't understand what I'm about to say. He's a good person, but he shot somebody because they owed him relative a couple $100. So just imagine, like, you know what I'm saying? Killing somebody, having to do 40 years for a couple $100. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that was the best choice, the power of choice, right? I don't think that was the best choice. And I almost made choices like that you know, when I was in the streets. But for them, just be responsible for what you can, deal with it, take the L, lesson, not loss, take the lesson from it, and then have the context that this is making you a better person some way, somehow. It's gonna work out. So that's how I would say deal with adversity. Oh, one more thing, acceptance. And when I say acceptance, I don't mean like just be settled. Like, oh, okay, this no acceptance. Like, yo, this is what's happening, or this is what happened, and it happened already. So just accept that. Doesn't mean you gotta stay settled and stay there, but there has to be a level of acceptance. You know what I'm saying? And as I'm telling you this, I'm reminded of this too, because that accepting piece is important, you know?
Well, that's good advice, man.
Thank you.
Another this actually is good for this next question I got for you. You know, public schools is considered to be a pipeline to the prison system. So,
Yeah.
what advice would you give to the kids at Eastside High, Kennedy, all them schools in Patterson, like how to avoid going to gladiator school? Talk to me, man.
Yeah, wow. That's a tough one because there's so many elements involved. You have great questions, my brother. There's so many elements involved that create the possibility and potential for that to happen. However, focusing on what we can control, which you're right, it's a great transition. I always say this to people. They say that don't live life with regrets, right? Because what happened happened, and I just spoke to you about acceptance. However, if I do communicate, if I can communicate some things that I regret in life, one of the main things that I regret is not taking school seriously. Like, you know what I'm saying? I really regret not taking school serious. I wasn't applying myself. I was getting high. I was chasing girls, doing everything but what I'm supposed to be in there doing, which is trying to learn something to get to the next level in life. So, to my young people out there, man, to avoid, right? Recognize that. Do you want to become part of that plan that they have designed for you? You want to be a gangster? You want to be revolutionary? You want to be different? You want to be unique? Then don't be a pawn in their game. You got to understand, like Mr. Bornstein, one of my science teachers in Eastside High, right? I tell you, this is a real story, man. I don't play around. This is not a YouTube video. This is somebody's life, people. Mr. Bornstein, one day we were acting up in his class. It was science class. We were acting up, doing whatever, man. And he slammed him. He like slammed a book or his hand on the desk. I don't remember. It was a loud bang though. Boom! He was like, he was white, by the way. Don't you know there's 10 white men in a smoke-filled room planning the future for your children? Think about that. We're in high school, and he told us there's 10 white men in a smoke-filled room planning the future for my children. We're teenagers. They got a plan for my children already? So, fam, it's up to you. Listen, they gonna do what they gonna do. It's like if you're fighting, the fighter's he gonna throw his jab, his hook, try to grab you. They gonna do what they do. What are you going to do? So my suggestion to the youth, man, like listen, man, it's 2024. This is the information age. You know what's up. You know what time it is. You got the most powerful weapon in your hand, the cell phone that I'm looking at right now. Like, don't be a dummy, man. Like for real, it's not cool to be dumb no more. I don't know where that came from or whatever, but it's about being smart. So be smart. Don't be a pawn in their game. Like, do something different and understand that you're gonna be older longer than you're younger. So you gotta formulate a plan. So to your question, my young people, I know that it's tough finding a purpose. You may not have the best examples in your life right now, but you got to come up with a plan for yourself and follow that plan. And it's important because if you don't have a plan, then you'll get distracted, right? You'll do whatever. If you really research successful people, they had a plan. And that plan was a sort of pathway to their life. So come up with a positive plan for yourself. And I always tell people, I don't know my purpose, true. I don't know what to do. All right, here go. Here's a universal plan for you. You ready? Be the best version of yourself in every moment. Take action on whatever vibrates your heart and your spirit in a positive way. That's your plan for now. Until you find yourself, until you find your purpose, until you know what to do, in every moment, be the best version of yourself. In every moment, do what resonates, what vibrates with your heart and mind. Our ancestors in Kemet, that's Egypt for those who don't know, you would see them in the on the walls depicted with their left foot forward. Why? Why the left foot? Because they understood that the heart was on the left side. So they taught whatever you do in life, whatever you take a step towards, make sure your heart is in it. All right. So that is my suggestion to you. And let me say this. Right now, it's the information age. It's a blessing, but it's also information overload. So I understand that theoretically, I'm older than you. This could be talking about young people, but I didn't experience that. However, just strive to focus one step at a time. Finish high school. That's right now. That's be the best version of yourself. Finish high school. All right, cool. Next, go on. You want to start a business, entrepreneurship, college. Just stay focused and don't be a pawn in their game. Don't fall for it. That's my quick advice.
Word, that's good advice for the youth, man. I kind of want to touch what you was talking about with Kemet, the heart, and all that. You know,
Yeah.
they're the ones that first discovered ECC, which is an acronym for electrical cardio current. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
they had the on the hieroglyphics, they got the feather in the heart. You know what I mean? Which represents the aura. You know what I mean? So I thought
Right.
that was dope that you said that,
You brought
man. You know
that
what I
in.
mean?
Yeah. And you know what else is powerful about that too? My
Mhm.
my studies, has also brought this to my understanding that they also use words that vibrated in a certain way too. So it's like so everything was that's why I meant that's where I learned that from. I've studied I've read over 400 books and also applied as much as I can based on whatever I've learned. So the language of the universe is energy, frequency, and vibration. So I told you I don't curse. I told you I don't say the N word. There's certain words in my vocabulary I don't use because of what? The vibration. And understanding that whatever that vibration is, if it comes through me, I'm experiencing that vibration, energy, and frequency. So I got to be mindful of what I'm thinking, what I'm saying, what I'm doing, what I'm consuming, and so forth. I want to say this though, because I don't like to be a hypocrite or contradict myself. Not that I'm perfect, but if I'm conscious of a moment, I wanna express it. I do listen to hardcore gangster rap. I grew up on it. That's my thing. But I listen to it in certain stages. Like if I'm working out, you know what I'm saying? It gives me that energy. But again, it just goes back to my point. You know what I'm saying? Like when I'm working out, I want to hear some hardcore stuff that's gonna motivate me to push and challenge myself. Right. So I do want to say that because if any, I strive to be as transparent as possible. You know what I mean? Everybody, yo, he said words are powerful. He's listening to whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, I'm also, I'm a fan of rap and hip hop. Sometimes it's not they don't have the best messages. However, I do listen to it.
Where I mean, yo, we from the same era, so I'm quite sure you grew up listening to like conscious rappers, like
Yeah, that
Kanye.
too.
Now I
Dead
mean, you got
Prez,
Dead Prez, you got Cannabis, Chino XL, Wu Tang.
rest in
I mean,
peace, Chino XL.
word. And hold on, what?
Yeah, Chino XL, he committed suicide.
That must have been a minute ago. Or was this recent?
Yeah, that was recent, like last week.
Wow,
Yeah,
I ain't
yeah.
know that. Rest in
Yo,
peace, man.
funny story too. Rest in peace, rest in power, Chino XL. I actually battled
Yeah,
him. I used to rap back in the day. I battled him at the
right.
mall. I
Okay.
battled Chino XL.
You actually battled Chino XL? Wow, who
Yeah.
won?
Yeah. Yeah, since he's returned to the essence, I'm gonna say he won.
Word, word, word.
Nah. I
Word,
think I won.
word.
I thought I won that battle, but he's an ill
Okay, okay.
MC. He became that was like in the beginning. We were both young. He became like a terror. He'll definitely, definitely defeat most MCs now. Rest in power to that brother.
Yeah, rest in
But
power to
yeah,
Chino
definitely
XL. Yeah.
conscious hip hop. I'm like I said, X Clan. You got PE. You got a lot of brothers, man. That's
Grave
conscious.
diggers. You know what I mean? I mean, the
Yeah,
list goes on. See, and I kind of wanted to chime in when you said, you know, um, from where we from, cats don't like to read, but yo, there be mad street scholars though, man.
that's
Like
true.
dropping
That's
crazy
yeah.
science knowledge, man. So I
You're
kind of want to
right.
put that out there, man. Not everybody from the hood is on that time. Like, yo, we got some street
Absolutely.
scholars, man. Word is born, man. You know what I
Absolutely. Yes,
mean?
sir. Yes, sir. Forgive me for that. I should have mentioned that. You're right.
Word,
You're
word.
absolutely right.
You know what
Yeah,
I mean? And it be,
indeed.
I don't want to, I mean, just dwell on that. But my next question is for you is right. Yo, you're a great father figure for your family. You got a
Thank you.
beautiful tribe in your hands, man. I mean, you holding it down for the family, whatever. And my question for you is, how important it is to leave tangible assets for your loved ones, man? Talk to me.
Oh man. I want to say this first and foremost. The most tangible asset that you can leave for your family is a loving home. And I don't mean just like the property home. I mean the energy within the home, making sure that as men we're choosing spouses that hmm, how do I say, whatever your purpose is in life, whatever your mission is, just make sure that your spouse is aligned with that and that there's love in the home. Just want to say that because one of the things that is causing great havoc in our communities is the dysfunction and broken homes, right? So I want to address that first because what good is it to have assets and all of this, but there's no love in the home, you know what I'm saying? Or I believe that we should be raising children in the natural way, which is mothers and fathers. A lot of grew up a single mother myself, and I am a byproduct of a dysfunctional home. I also created a dysfunctional home. Like I have two children by another woman that I'm no longer with. You know what I'm saying? I am blessed and fortunate now to have an amazing wife, and we have children of our own, and we also have a blended family. So I wanted to say that first and foremost. But yeah, it's important, King, and it's important because a lot of times we are starting from ground zero. And so a lot of other ethnicities and communities and people, they're starting with like a head start, whether it be through life insurance, whether it be through property assets, stock fundings. So, they have like an advantage. They have a head start, you know what I mean? So they're not coming in from ground zero. And I just think that our people, especially in this day and age, we got to get it together, man, so that the next generation can take it to the next level and not struggle as hard. Now, I must say this, struggle is important. You know, when you don't have struggle, a lot of times you don't have appreciation. And also, you got to realize that the struggle, just like I mentioned earlier, is what cultivates and develops toughness. And you get wisdom from that. That's why a lot of times, the people are given things that they ain't have to work for, they lose it because they didn't have to develop what it takes to, number one, earn that, and also, even tougher, keep that. So assets, it's to me, it's a physical, tangible, material things. Definitely, definitely. However, most importantly, where I come in and what I think I'm an expert at is the personal development aspect of things. We got to be teaching these babies. I understand we're all busy, we're all working. Me too. Me too. It's tough. But we got to take time to teach our babies how to deal with life, teach them knowledge of self, and teach them the basics of, like, finances and whatnot, and how to make the right choices. They're not learning that from school. School can only do but so much, and you got to remember they got like 30, 35 people, children in there. You know what I'm saying? Every time I meet a teacher, not to digress, every time I meet a teacher, I say thank you. Even though she ain't teach my children, I say thank you, because a lot of times they're overworked, underpaid. Parents are giving them, hassles. A lot of times they're doing the best. I'm talking about the ones that care, obviously. Some of them just go there for a paycheck. But to your questions, on all levels, super important. That's why I say, before you start having children, I would say, like, have a level of success first. Like, I didn't follow that formula. You know what I mean? I had my first child when I was 19. I was selling crack. I was out here in these streets heavy. But as a man who's been through it, some trauma, some mistakes, I tell my young men especially, wait. Some people say have children early, whatever. Listen, wait, develop your mind, have a basic level of success. Success is one of those things where it's like you climb a mountain, there's a higher one. But at some level, you got to be smart about this thing. If you can't even take care of yourself, why are you bringing children into this world? You know what I mean? So you got to be smart. You got to learn, think about what's needed. And also, let me say this to young people, we failed you. Like us, the older generation failed you, because we're supposed to be putting you on game of what it takes to be successful in family and structure and so forth. So I know that was a long-winded answer for what you asked, my brother, but I just think that it's all connected and multidimensional.
Man, yo, that was a perfect answer, man. Ain't nothing wrong for you to be long with it, because we got plenty of time, man. We
Man,
on
thank
your
you.
time. Seems like you got time, so yo, we gonna get it in, man. The
Boom.
youth need to soak up this knowledge that you're giving them, man. You're
Yeah, let's get it.
now. My next question for you would be, I know you married and all that. You got a wife,
Yeah,
kids, and
yeah,
all that. Like,
yeah.
what's your thoughts on the dating scene now? Like, it's ruthless, man. So I want to get your perspective. If you know what's going on in these streets out here, man, talk to me, man.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what's going on, but I tell you that I hear from men, because my marriage isn't perfect. And so when I speak to other men, because I seek counsel and other men, they put me on, they tell me like, yo, true, man, stay in your marriage, fight for your marriage, because it's no joke out here. It is not the same. So that's that, right? But what I will say for men specifically is that if you are not in a stable situation in life, like, you shouldn't even worry about no, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. Listen, we're men and we have biological desires and whatnot, but there's a level of discipline you got to practice, man. Because, like, when you take on a family, that's take on a woman, and which eventually will lead to a family. And a lot of times, depending on your age, that sister might have children. So you're taking on a family, actually. And what I see, if anything, is a lot of men are not mentally prepared. They're not emotionally prepared. And I was one of those men. And in some aspects, I still am. I'm a part of a community where I get a lot of wisdom and example and teachings, but a lot of us are not qualified, man. You know what I mean? Like you broke, but you dating. Like I don't understand that, you know. And you broke, but you out here chasing, having sex. Like, bro, get your life together. I'm speaking for men because I'm not saying women are perfect, but they tend to have their stuff together. And obviously not all men, but I would just say for a man, focus on being successful, focus on having some basics in life, you know, some fundamental basics before you even start dating. And also like get to know yourself because who you are, like the things that I thought were important in my 20s, I realized weren't as important, you know, later on in life. You know, so I want to say that also too, what I want to say this to men is looks are important. You should definitely be attracted to the person that you're marrying, but it's not the most important thing. You know what I'm saying? Just consider that. You know, get who you want, no doubt. But just know that, you know, when you think about the marathon in life, you know, if you don't have any children, like does this woman qualify as a future mom for your children? Also, look into the family. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's something that we weren't taught. Like look into the family that she comes from. Look into the how they interact with each other, the family, and how she interacts with her family.
Yo, hold on. Let me interject real
Yeah,
quick. Name the red flags. What a young man got to look for if they trying to do that marathon, that long run with that. You know what I mean? They main squeeze
yeah,
or whatever. Like, what are the red flags they need to look out for? And I'm glad you mentioned about how her stable home lifestyle is. I mean, because that's really
yeah.
important for her to have a father figure and a mother figure simultaneously. So, yo, give us the breakdown on that, King.
Yeah, yeah, and even if she didn't have both, that's fine. But you wanna like just be aware of any trauma, any toxic things that are going on or went on, because you got to understand, right? For the marathon in life, when you marry someone, you're marrying their family, you're marrying their lineage. You get what I'm saying? So it's going to affect you. So it's okay if she comes from a toxic, like, you know what I mean, like my family ain't the best, you know what I mean, but you know, at least you're aware what you're dealing with. And I'm just saying because I wasn't aware of these things, you know what I'm saying. And you need to, I think that you need to consider, because when we marry a person, it's never in isolation. So that's number one. As far as red flags, man, that's a tough one, because number one, I focus so much on masculinity and men and what men need to do. You know what I'm saying? But I would say if I was a, it depends on what type of man you are too. Like for me, I'm a conscious man, right? There's a certain culture that I live by, right? So things that were important to me may not be important to a typical man. Like for example, it's important to me that my wife reads. My wife is an intellectual. That was important for me. I'm not saying she's better than nobody or nothing like that, but that was important for me because I'm a reader, because I'm an intellectual. I'm into those things. I'm into fitness. So is my wife. You know, she's busy right now with two children, so she's doing the best. I'm into black consciousness. So like in my house, there's certain things we don't celebrate. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying you can't make it work with somebody who does things differently. I just think that it's an uphill battle and it's going to be tough. And so I think that you need to really like, when I was dating, you know, it was like a job interview. You know what I'm saying? And you know, there's certain things that you got to qualify also, right? Back to know thyself. You got to know what you're willing to bend on and what you're not willing to bend on, right? Simple example, you know, I like dark skinned women, right? But my wife is light skinned. That's something I could bend on, right? That ain't no biggie. However, I'm into black consciousness, and there's certain things we're not gonna celebrate. Like I said, right? I'm not bending on that because I ain't about to argue with you, man. Whether if we're gonna have a white Santa Claus, man,
Yo,
and
hold up.
5 kids, you know what I'm saying?
Hold on. Like, was it because I already know you don't celebrate Thanksgiving? So how do you how do you how does that work between you and your wife? Like did she ever like celebrate those things that she went cold turkey and not celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas and so on? Like how did you come to how did she compromise on not celebrating? And I'm asking you this because I know I'm on that kind of type of time too, man, and that's why I'm not in a tangible relationship. Y'all
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah,
'Cause
yeah,
it's just they can't give it up, man. Y'all mean? So
yeah.
how'd you manage to get her to give that up?
Yo, it's a simple answer. I met her like that already. There comes a point in time in your life, like before when I was younger, I used to try to teach women, and when I say teach women, I'm not saying women can't teach men, right? But you asking me about my life. I used to try to teach women. I used to try to change women and get them to eat a certain way or get them to not celebrate certain things. I was like, yo, read this book. And when I come back, the book got dust in it and a coffee mug on top of it because she, ain't, you know what I mean? She just used it as a damn stand. You know what I mean? But my wife had all those qualities in her. So I suggest to anybody, whatever qualities you're looking for, number one, make sure you live it because you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you live it. And then also put yourself in a position where you're going to meet that type of person. So, like, I go to lectures. I met my wife through a friend, but I'm being me. And from me being me, my man Maruki was like, yo, true. I work with somebody that I think, you know what I mean, would you would blend perfect with. Like, for example, like back when before I met my wife, on Flag Day, my wife sent my daughter, and Zinga's actually my stepdaughter, but I say my daughter. We don't do the step stuff. But to give context, my stepdaughter at the time uh, to school with the red, black, and green flag. You know, the red, black, and green that's a universal flag for all black people from the African diaspora, created by Marcus Garvey. The red stance represents the blood that we shed. The black for the variations and complexions of who we are, and the green is the land that they stole, right? The red, black, and green flag for those who don't know. So my wife sent her daughter with the red, black, and green flag. So my man was like, "Yo, true, I know somebody who's perfect for you." So you gotta realize, like, whatever values and principles she has, I was already living. You know what I mean? I knew, no disrespect to the club, I used to party heavy, but I knew most likely my wife ain't gonna be in the club. Like, back when I was dating, most likely I ain't gonna meet my wife in a strip club. No disrespect to no one. Listen, whatever you do, what you do. But for me, my values and principle, know thyself. Back to that. I just knew. And so for you and anybody else, men, women, live whatever principles and values you want in somebody else. A lot of times people be looking for things that they ain't, oh, I want somebody who's fit. But you don't go to the gym. I want somebody who's smart. But what are you doing to elevate yourself? I want somebody with money. You know what I'm saying? Well, I have like traditional things about money. I think men should really be providing for women. But anyway, sometimes that's not my wife works. So, you know what I mean? So I think it's recognizing those things, like understanding like what you want in life is important. And they may not be. Listen, you don't if you ain't into this intellectual stuff, then cool. You might be into just having fun, traveling, great. Make sure that the person you meet is aligned with. Then you don't have to be the same. My wife is not the same as me. Like she ain't a talker like me. She's actually very quiet. But our differences complement each other. You know what I'm saying? And the things that we have alike, elevate each other. But a red flag, if I could say any red flag, and that's for both men and women, if you're dealing with somebody who's not willing to be accountable for their mistakes, who's not willing to be accountable for their part in the destruction in something, that is a huge red flag, yo. If they're always blaming you or blaming others and not willing to take responsibility and ownership for their part, huge red. You can't build with somebody who's not willing to take accountability in something. The second thing that I think is important, I think this is universal. You got to understand that you're in it for the marathon. So you got to be with somebody, man, who is willing to grow, whatever that means for you, because life is gonna throw some curveballs at you. I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm in my mid 40s. I'm 44 years old. I'll be 45 next month. I had a little time on this planet. Plus, I lived a rough life. So I would suggest that as well, understanding that, whatever it means to you, make sure you're with somebody who's willing to grow through what you go through. You know what I'm saying? Grow through what you go through. And also understanding there's going to be different stages, and that also last thing. I think it's important to not try to do this thing on your own. I mentioned earlier how I'm part of a community of men who hold me to the fire, right? I always say this. There's a proverb that says, African proverb that says, it takes a village to raise a child. I say it also takes a village to keep a marriage, keep a relationship. So, like, make sure you have others involved. I know people say, nah, what I mean? Don't put your business out there to the streets. Don't tell nobody about your business. Don't tell your other family members about what you're going through. Yo, that's toxic, fam. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could tell my friends what I'm going through. They're not gonna gossip. They ain't gonna put my business out there. I got real people in my life. You know what I mean? I could tell. I was speaking to my brother-in-law the other day about some issues. You know what I'm saying? He ain't kicking my back in. He ain't spreading my business around. You know what I mean? So number one, who are you that you attracting those type of people? Like, damn, you gotta hold all your issues to yourself. You can't even, you don't have no real people in your life. That's sad, fam, because if you're doing it on your own, you're gonna have a limited perspective and a limited understanding and limited resources to get you out of those things. And so I think that that's important too, man. Community, man. Yo, we ain't meant for this isolation thing. We're people of community. We're communal people. Understand? So, back to the red flags. I just think that if anything rubs you the wrong way, you have to address it early. You have to develop the art of communicating, and it is an art. And talking is not just is just communicating. No, communicating is an art. Understanding how to say things in a certain way, uh, and also too, like a lot of people. Just got a notification. Pardon me. A lot of people think it's the other person. Oh, they don't understand me. That might be the case, but it's your responsibility to figure out a way so that they can understand you, not theirs. You know what I'm saying? So communication is important. I know that's cliche too, but it really is, man, because you putting two humans together and putting them in a household, man, and just the fact man and woman, that alone, like that alone, is a recipe for some type of conflict sometimes. And then when you think about like issues and trauma and all of these other things all in the mix, and yeah, man, it's going to be some communicating that needs to be had. So also, I'm a big fan of therapy. My wife and I are in therapy right now. I've had individual therapy, and I think it's a blessing. And just like everybody talking about it right now, I've been in therapy since I got evaluated as a child because I used to draw art. I used to draw violent pictures. So I've been in therapy before it became, when there was a stigma about therapy, I was in therapy. So
Well,
I've
there
always,
is a negative stigma for therapy, and this for the youth or whatever. I'm saying this: if you're planning to get into any type of law enforcement or do executive protection, don't go see don't go see a shrink because they will let them know that, you know what I mean, you've been evaluated, and it's going to affect your chances to be able to work in law enforcement on carrying firearms. So I just want to put that out there. You know what I mean? But ain't nothing wrong. Ain't it, for the chicken wise in law enforcement, it's not wise. But because you want to get to the bag. But as far as for like no, like for like personal self development, yeah, it's good. But
yeah.
I don't I don't recommend nobody to do it, because if you're trying to get in that lane in law enforcement, holding that grip, then you're gonna deal with some obstacles. You know what I mean? But yo,
Yeah.
proceed, King.
Indeed, indeed. I just brought that up to say that it's an avenue of getting help. And if you're in a serious committed relationship, you're gonna need help, man, from somewhere, somehow. I don't know if that sounds negative. Maybe you think I'm just in a messed up situation. So be it. You know what I'm saying? If that's your view, but I'm just telling you what I think works. So that would be another flag, man. Like if she ain't willing to grow, he ain't willing to grow, he ain't willing to develop themselves. Let me say this for the sisters. This for the sisters, man. Put the men in the hot seat. I love my sisters, man. I love women. They have so much, like they'll be with a man for his potential. And that's cool, yo. But sisters, if he ain't showing improving, listen, man, maybe right now ain't the time to be in a relationship with him. I understand he got potential, and all of that, and he talking a good one, and he got the plans and all of that. That's cool. But it ain't about you overworking yourself, taking care of a grown man and all of that. Listen, support, that's needed sometimes. There was a time I wasn't working for 6 months and my wife was the majority person holding it down, right? But my wife know how I get down. She know I've been working for X amount of years. She know what I do when I get the bag. She saw the potential manifest in real time, not just an idea. So I think that that's cool when you're young, right? But there comes a time if you're in your 30s and he's just an aspiring rapper, no disrespect to no one, mm, you got to really look at, and this is one example. You got to really look at like what is he materializing in real time? You know what I'm saying? So that's a red flag for sisters. I tell sisters straight up, don't be with a man because of his potential. Be with a man because of what he's actualizing. And if he has a lot of potential, support him as a friend. And if there's
Now, yo,
love and
some people will
attraction,
say, within our demographic, the
mhm,
sisters tend to gravitate towards street type dudes. Like they not really attracted to the guy that's going to school or that's a plumber or an electrician or working a blue collar job because it doesn't have that. It doesn't shows that
like
certain level of
swag,
prestiginess or swag or
yeah,
that puts them on a high level of a socioeconomic status. So like,
right.
why you think it's like that when it comes to the sisters?
Two reasons. Three reasons. Number one, sisters biologically are designed to seek for alpha energy. You know what I'm saying? Because when you study about indigenous, when you go, and this is biologically, I'm speaking, not just historically, but also biologically, but biological and historical are connected sometimes. They get with a man, biologically speaking, there's like an inner knowing or inner desire to be with a man that's going to protect and provide. And a lot of times the street dude, just has that bravado, that alpha energy, you know what I'm saying? That big energy and it's appealing to a woman. You know what I'm saying? So that's number one. Number two, depending on what environment she comes from, she is exposed to that as being the cool thing. You know what I mean? The plumber a lot of times he's broke, struggling, he ain't doing much, and so she want to have fun. She want to do certain things. So
Yo,
she's
let me interject real quick. A plumber
yeah,
makes good money though. You know what I'm
right.
saying? They make good
Indeed.
money.
I know plumbers killing it right now.
Yeah, maybe in the beginning phases you might not be
Right. Yo,
making
you see? That's
a
yo,
lot
you
of bread.
you getting back to my answer. You getting to
Yeah,
my
yeah.
answer.
So a lot of times, the sisters want a finished product, man. They don't want to be along from that beautiful transition when you're blossoming to becoming that
Yeah.
incredible man. Know what I
Right.
mean?
And that's where you got to pay attention to the potential actualizing. Like, oh, okay. He's making a small amount of bread right now, but I see him. He's working on himself. He got an idea to get a van, put his logo on it. That's potential actualizing, and that's where you want to be. You know what I'm saying? If you don't meet him at his pinnacle of his career or whatnot. But I think that so that's so I was talking about the biological need to be with that alpha energy, that big energy. I think also too that sisters, this will go back to what you were saying, maybe narrow minded in their thinking. I know because they're young, just like we have immature ways, they may have immature ways. In the marathon of life, if you notice, the older sister eventually gets fed up with that young street stuff or whatever. When I mean young, I'm talking about mentally young. Sometimes it ain't even about age, and gets with a quote unquote square type because he's stable, stability. You get what I'm saying? And so I think that I think that that's something that just happens because of the age a lot of times, and sometimes because of where we're from. Not all the time because you got sisters from the suburbs. They used to come when I was young. They used to come to the hood and try to get with us. They were straight from the suburbs. You know
That's
what
what
I'm
I'm
saying?
saying. Like, yo, no
Yeah.
matter what environment they from, it seems like they gravitated to the street type
Yeah, it's cool. It's
dudes.
power. They're attracted to power, the coolness, And then also too, man, a lot of them that they're watching rap videos, and the dude on the corner reminds them of a rapper or something like that. It's dumb stuff because I don't want my daughters to be with no street dude, and they know better to bring any street dude into the house or don't even introduce me to him. You know what I'm saying? But they know better than that. And I used to be one. Not I
Well,
tell my
but hold
daughters
on,
like
hold on.
I'm
But I
straight up
think
with my daughters.
I think where we from, we got a false perspective or perception on what an alpha male is, because where we from, in their mind it's like the nigga that take over that's spinning on the yard all the time, cutting
Hmm.
niggas with the ox. That I
Hmm.
mean, like
Hmm.
holding the
Yeah.
grip, getting the
Right.
dumping when shit pop off. Like that's
Right.
a false pers- perspective on what an alpha male is, man.
Yeah.
And why do you think we so caught up in that, man? And what are some of the things that we could break the chains from thinking like that, man? Talk to me.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's because it's what we exposed to. I always tell a story when I speak to people how like when I was living on Mill Street. I'm from 10th Avenue, 23rd, but I used to live on Mill Street. There was a brother named Gary. His name was G Money. He had the long trench coat. He had the herringbone gold chain and everything. He was super cool. He had all the ladies, and so I wanted to be like G Money. That's what I was exposed to. That's what was cool. So I think that a part of it is exposure. A huge part of it is cultural. When I mean cultural, I don't even mean like ethnicity cultural. I'm talking about like the negative stereotypes of hip hop. And we have to be honest. Some of the things that we grew up on, some of the things that we embrace, they're toxic. They're negative. Like what I'm saying. Like I remember listening to like Mob Deep. I would listen to Prodigy before I go on the block. He put me in my zone to get on the block. You know what I'm saying? Like we got to be real. After a while, like as I got older, I was like, damn, you know what? The older generation was right about hip hop and its influence on the mind in a negative way. And that's only because at the time I didn't have the personal development or the strong mind to combat that. I thought that that's who I was destined to be like that. And so I took in the program and modeled it. So if we give the youth, if we give men a different model and make that the cool thing, make that the popular thing, then they'll take that. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad always used this example that I love. He said that if you offer the people, he poured a glass of water and it was dirty water. He was like, people are drinking that right now. But he was like, yo, if you offer the people a clean glass, and he started to pour clean water in the glass. If you offer them the clean glass, they'll drink the clean glass. But right now, they're just drinking the dirty water because that's what's in front of them. And so again, it just comes to like exposure, example, and then what are we? Because we set the tone as men. So if like us who are positive are not out here, like that's why I believe like it's important for me to be who I am. Like I'm fit, I'm strong, I get money, I need to get more money, of course. And I speak the way I speak, I dress the way I dress, and I go I still be in the hood. You catch me on 10th Avenue, 23rd sometimes. But I'm me. I'm being me as I am now. And I think it's important for people to see that. Like, yo, I'm an author. This is what I do. I speak positive. I don't say the N-word. I don't curse. I'm not perfect. Never claim to be. However, I strive to be better. And I just think that if more of us are in the community, and just setting that example and making the culture cool to be smart, making a culture cool to be positive, then what I mean. We'll see a change in the men. The men are only following what they think is cool and what they think is strong and powerful. You know what I'm saying? Boys want to be strong and powerful, man. You know what I'm saying? So it's important for us to be strong and powerful in a positive way and get that money. It ain't about being broke and conscious. I think some of our conscious brothers and sisters, including myself, had that wrong back in the day. We used to, you know what I'm saying? Nah, man, drive a nice car and be conscious. So now the little boy was like, oh, what I mean? My man, yo, he positive, man. He got that Beamer. Yo, how'd you get that? Yo, I'm a plumber. I got my own business. Word? Yeah, that's right. It ain't about material things, but we got to understand the people and what we're dealing with. You know what I mean?
Word. This be my last question.
Bet.
Um, what growing up in the hip hop culture, right? What are some of the positive ripple effects it had towards your life? Like, did it have
Oh
any
man.
positive effects?
Oh man.
And if
So
so,
this is
let
the
us know.
oh man. Woo. I am because the person that I look, I almost knocked the phone down when you asked me that. I gotta get comfortable. I cross my leg and everything. Nah, man, listen. I pay homage to Dead Prez. Dead Prez. If y'all don't know who Dead Prez is, man, look up their first album, Let's Get Free. The beats may be a little outdated of what you're used to, especially if you're into the drill beats and all of that. But that album helped to shape and mold the person that I am today. You know what I mean? That one album. Of course, there were others, but I'm just really highlighting that one because it was so profound and so like just and on a supreme level. It just elevated me. So it showed and proved the power of music. You got to understand that subconsciously, music is putting us in a state of hypnosis. You know what I mean? When you hear a beat, boom, 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 certain rhythm, especially us black people, melanated people, we vibe, we get into the vibration, we become in sync with the rhythm, and then you have these words going into our subconscious mind. Like, fam, the powers that be know what time it is. You think they don't know the power of music? Listen, I'm answering your question. I'm answering your question, by the way. They hire psychologists to advise them on what color to use on cereal boxes. They're just not choosing the color of I'm just using as an example, a cereal box because they like that color. They hire psychologists. What would likely have a child gravitate towards this cereal box? You don't think they have psychologists studying us, studying what messages will assist them with their program? Remember the school to the pipeline? You don't think music is a part of that plan? I told you my book and podcast is a branch to my purpose and mission. You don't think they have multiple branches to their purpose and mission of where they want you to be? Come on, fam. Music has a profound effect on us, man. It puts us in a hypnosis state. When we're in a hypnosis state, we are more susceptible to certain messages. So music had a huge, profound effect on me. But also, I'm gonna tell you this: as toxic as some of the messages might have been, because they were, negative. I don't believe there's such thing as toxic masculinity. By the way, there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. If it's toxic, it's not masculine. Get that out of here. However, there are toxic messages in hip hop, and you could be a man who's acting toxic. Um, it it made it helped me survive and navigate the world that I was living. I don't understand the world of a white boy or a suburban child who listens to the hip hop. I don't understand that world. The rappers were talking my life. The rappers, the real ones, were living my life. You know what I'm saying? So there was also like it was also like theme music, and I was learning from it in a different way. Also it gave me that aggression that I needed to survive my world. But I would say the conscious music, though, specifically Dead Prez, Stickman, he's one of my favorite rappers. You had Nas, you know what I'm saying? I'm a little bit too young to appreciate like Rakim music, you know what I mean? Like I appreciate it, but the truth is I was very young when Rakim was out. Big Daddy Kane, King Asiatic. Um, so all of those elements help KRS-One, knowledge reigns supreme over everyone. That's what KRS-One stands for. There were positive messages. One thing that I appreciate about the golden era, and my era wasn't perfect, is that we had a diverse taste of music. You had party music, you had conscious music, you had West Coast music, you had East Coast music, you had down south, you had a different variation that could fit whatever state of being you were in at the time. While now, in comparison, and not to hate on the youth or the new rap or whatever, it's just true. All of it sounds the same. I can't even tell who's from where anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't even tell. Like back in the day, you could tell somebody from the West Coast to the East Coast. They all sound the same to me now. But um, but yeah, it's important. We got to understand that because our youth are listening to music. Again, the enemy knows. They know the power of music, man, since the 60s and 70s during Vietnam. You know what I mean? When you had the rock and roll bands, people like Jimi Hendrix and all of that, man, they realized that there's somebody named Part of me. He's from Nigeria. I can't think of his name. Oh, I can't believe I forgot his name. No. Anyway, he has an album called "Music Is a Weapon." Man, music is a tool, man. So you got to be careful, man, who controls that tool. But yeah, man, music definitely contributes. And I've also had fun. You with vibing with your people, is having fun. You know what I mean? Yeah, music had a huge, profound effect on me.
Word, man. I want to thank you so much for giving me the honors to interview you, man. I appreciate that, brother. Yo,
I'm
we kept
honored.
it, we kept in touch in so many years, man, and I think it's so dope that you got your hands in so many different ventures, man, and it's
Thank you.
definitely inspirational, man. Um, any last word for the people before we sign out, man?
Yeah, first and foremost, I want to thank you for inviting me on your platform. That's something I do not take lightly. Seriously, you allow me to live out my purpose as someone who wants to empower people to be a better version of themselves. And it starts with me being a better version of myself. I just want to say that first and foremost. But thank you for giving me that honor, because time is the most important asset that we have. And your audience and you allowed me a little bit of time. And so I just want to say that I'm grateful and I appreciate that. And to the audience, as I stated before, there's certain things in life that you can control and certain things that you can't control. It'll behoove you, it'll benefit you to put all your investment, all your energy on the things that you can control and keep growing. You know what I mean? Be tough, man. Get to it. You're not stuck. Whatever it is in life that you desire, just get to it. My name is True Kepra. I would really appreciate if you purchase my book. That'd be great. I got 5-star rating. You know what I mean? Definitely good stuff. And I'm not just saying it because it's my product, you know, definitely a dope book. You can find me on social media, True Speaks Power. That's one word, obviously. Truth Speaks Power, TRUE, Speaks Power. Also, you can follow the podcast, Raw Success Podcast. And, we're on YouTube, we're on all streaming platforms. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that we had this time. And it is my intention that your audience receive value from our time together.
Word, man. This is your boy Rush. I'm getting ready to sign out. Seek wisdom, practice humility, and always remain sucker free. Yo,
You know
True,
that.
hit me up on the line. Yo, we gotta definitely connect like Voltron again, man. All
You
right,
know that. Know that.
I'm out.
Let's get it. Bam! Boom, boom,
Word.
boom, 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 boom. Yeah. Stay sucker free. And men, be tough. Stop being so soft out there, man. They trying to turn us into women, man. Don't fall for that hype too, man. Let's
Word,
get it,
word.
Russ. Love, man. Love and
All
strength.
right,
Peace.
one love, King. One.